One of the most frequently asked questions I get, I have an idea. How do I launch it? How do I build it? How do I make it impactful? People don't really love the answer because the answer is, today we're going to be talking about building businesses. How do I launch it? How do I build it? How do I make it impactful? And people don't really love the answer. Because the answer is strategic improvisation, and it's working backwards from wow. And what that means is you want to build something that you see on the shelf that already inspires you. And I think so often what happens is an entrepreneur or a founder puts too much of their own personal opinions or design beliefs into the creation of a product or a brand, and they're not thinking large enough. And so, we just launched a ready-to-drink vodka brand. It's called Quenchers. It's launched in some NFL stadiums and Barstool Sports restaurants. And it's somewhat of a crowded space. We've been developing the product for 2 years. And people are like, why would you get into a crowded space like that? Why is your drink any different or any better? And it's one of those situations where you don't really know if your drink is going to work or your product is going to work. But at the time, we thought it was going to be good. And if somebody came out with it in the meantime, then they came out with it in the meantime. But we looked at everything in the marketplace. We went to liquor stores, we went to beer stores, we looked at the shelves, and we wanted something more fun. We wanted something bright. We wanted something that was different and delicious. And so our thought was basically a sugar-free sports drink and vodka, gets married, no bubbles, has a child, and it's easy to drink, it's delicious, and there was a gap in the marketplace. And so we went down this journey of ignoring a lot of people's opinions because everybody's going to tell you it's a crowded space. Why is yours any different? And then we finally launched it. And what we found out was that it is special. It's a non-competing product with all of these different stadiums and liquor stores, and that type of drink doesn't exist. And the packaging's interesting. And a lot of stuff we did ended up working. But it really came down from us thinking to ourselves, what is going to excite somebody? What's going to make somebody smile? What's going to get somebody interested in this drink? And we just worked backwards from not compromising on that. And so that is a pretty straightforward equation, but so many people don't do that. The Porta-John business is another business where, does the world need another Porta-John brand? Probably not. But we used it as a brand exercise. Can we make something special in an otherwise shitty industry? Pun intended. And so we created this brand, Tushies, bright colors, funny marketing, funny branding. Can you make something interesting and fun? And I think understanding just normal people and not getting bogged down with unnecessary data or analytics in the kind of infancy stage of development is really important, because there is a lot of risk there. But at the same time, if you execute it well and you stay the course, it can be really successful. I think what happens so often with people is they begin to compromise at every stage. And they'll come up with a really interesting fill in the blank thing. And someone will go, well, I don't really like that. And they go, okay, well, let me appease this person and I'll slightly change it. Well, I don't really think that that's a good idea either. And the next thing you know, you have decision by committee And that's how the Pontiac Aztec was developed, which is the ugliest, worst, dumbest vehicle ever produced on the planet. Whereas you could use Elon Musk as a great example. He just was like, I'm going to make electric cars super dope, and I'm going to make them like this, and they're going to look exactly like that. I'm going to price them like this, and there's not going to be dealerships. And everybody was like, this is never going to work. And it did. And so when you're developing a consumer packaged good, imagine being a really busy mom with screaming kids in a busy grocery store. What packaging is going to stop somebody in their tracks? Then think through, what do they really want? And can I deliver it? And how many compromises do I have to make? And do those compromises create a barrier to purchase? Everything we've ever done was basically create something that has zero barriers to purchase. So when someone walks up, packaging stops them in their tracks. They read about it, they like it, they smile, they buy it, they bring it home, they try it, they love it, they do some more research on it. The story is authentic and reinforces everything else that brought them to that point. And then you have to live into consistent quality. So if you can do that, which in the grand scheme of things sounds a little complicated, but it's really not, you can begin to win over a customer base over time. And again, I think what happens is we try and listen to too many people's opinions, and it ends up being decision by committee or a bureaucracy. And in the grand scheme of things, you want to create something that makes somebody's life better. You want to create something that makes somebody smile. You want to create something that they try it, they want to tell their friend. They try it. Theoretically, you want them to love it so much they write you a thank you note. With our original salad dressing business, we had an entire hallway called the Love Wall. And it was just thank you notes of people saying thank you for making dressing without thickening agents or preservatives or weird oils or something that tasted amazing. And it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thank you notes. How can you do that for your product or your service? And if you work backwards from wow, if you work backwards from someone writing you a thank you note, you are going to be unbelievably successful. And that's obviously in the product creation stage. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about scaling it. We're not talking about operational efficiencies. We're not talking about implementing AI platforms to, increase your margins. We're talking about creating shit that people like and that people want to continue to buy day in and day out. And that is really the basis of all business. Creating something that people want that makes their lives better or easier. But again, at every stage, we ask people that probably aren't experts in that field or experts in your target consumer, well, what's your opinion on this? And they give it to you and you overthink it. And then you change something that is otherwise magnificent for something that now is a B+ instead of an A+. There's so many new products and services launching every day. The only thing that's going to win anymore, A+ products, A+ services. I mean, we are bombarded every single minute of every single day with side hustles and this bullshit and new AI platforms and new services and buy my program and make $1 billion. And the list is so long, but if you boil it down to its most fundamental core structure or its most core belief system, and you deliver on that, you're going to smash it. And we all know you hire a bad employee, they give bad service, you lose a customer. You have a bad manufacturing run and the quality is not what it used to be, you lose a customer. You sacrifice because of a consultant saying these colors aren't what they should be and buying is surrounded by red and yellow, so you should really be focusing on those, and you just fall into the camouflaged wall of bottles and jars. You have to stand out, and you have to put your mind in the mind of the consumer. Identify who that consumer is, really get nitty gritty with it, and then figure out how to make their life better. And if you do that, you're going to be batting 1,000. And I'm not batting 1,000. I mean, yes, we have a bunch of businesses now, but I mean, I've come up with 50 different things, and 42 of them have not worked. They never made it to the launch phase because somewhere along the road, I didn't think it was worth my time, or I didn't think it was going to make the customer happy enough to switch from what they already have. So, you know, none of this is rocket science, which I think is also probably the most frustrating part for entrepreneurs, because we're looking for a secret that we may not know. And once we figure out that little piece of information, it's going to complete the puzzle and everything's going to make sense. That's not a thing. It's creating something that's wonderful and then delivering that consistent quality all day, every day, come hell or high water. And if you can figure out how to do that, you're going to have a bunch of really wonderful businesses. And if you can't figure out how to do that, you're going to have a bunch of failures, or you're going to have a bunch of stuff that's just mediocre, and you're battling for shelf space and you're battling for 5th place. And that's never really where I wanted to be. I always wanted to be, you know, in the top 2, kind of, okay, this is really good, but maybe I love this thing a little bit more for reasons that I don't know. But I want to be in the conversation. And if you can be in the conversation, you can build something pretty special from that.
Building something special.
Yeah.
Let's just take quenchers as the case study.
Yeah.
We're doing quenchers.
Yeah.
I remember when you gave you the call.
Yeah.
Bo, we want to do some quenchers. It's a vodka drink.
Yeah.
Let's start from there. Your thoughts. I know I came back with some designs that kind of look like yogurt cups, because I thought that's what we're going for at first.
Yeah.
But then you switched the design. You said, how about these patterns? I said, oh yeah, man, those look like fractals. And you said, yeah. I said, they also almost look like, I think, Slurpee cups.
Yeah.
You said. And I said, okay. I was kind of with it. I was like, all right. Mine did look like Danable yogurt cup when we first made them.
Right.
So, but I don't know. You have a keen eye on seeing things.
Yeah.
Because I guess I was from a different way. I'm just like, okay, you wanted a vodka drink. I think you just said, yeah, vodka drink. I can't remember what type of cup you gave me. But nevertheless, let's start from the quenchers, from building it from ground up. Like,
yeah,
a vodka drink.
Yep.
And let's move up, and then I'll add in questions.
So the world doesn't need another vodka drink. So the first thing was like, we needed to make the packaging special. So it couldn't be in a can. So we needed to figure out what type of packaging was going to make people go, huh, like, that's cool. It feels good in my hand. Oh, this reminds me of something when I was a kid. That's pretty interesting. I like that. That's different. That's going to make people pause. The second piece was packaging and color. It has to be bold. And it can't resemble something else, because then they're always going to think of the other thing it resembles. So we went through a million different patterns and colors, and we came up with a really cool design with really bright colors that were bold. And I think that was really the first piece, because when you think about the recipe's not that complicated. It's an electrolyte sports drink custom mix flavor that we came up with, vodka, and then we made it really, really smooth. Well, if you're going to put that in a can, does it still work? Probably. But does it make people pause and go, what the hell is this? Right? Because it was like High Noon came out, everybody came out with a High Noon competitor. Surfside came out, everybody came out with a Surfside competitor. And it all looks very similar to those as well. And the names are similar. So we needed something that almost felt like it had always been there. And, using the phrase quenchers, our lawyers intervened of what the original name was gonna be, because they're like, listen, man, you can't be saying that. But then I just started looking at alcohol advertisements over the past 20 years. Were there words that they used consistently that painted a picture of refreshment, a hot day, something that you're looking forward to drinking, that tied back into, this sports drink flavor profile that we had? And so we landed on quenchers, quenching your thirst, how we're targeting it in sports stadiums and golf courses and everything else. And so, it's one of those things where it starts off, it's almost like it's like a giant piece of marble, and you're freaking chiseling away and you're trying to make this beautiful statue. And when it's done, it looks like it was always supposed to be there. And you were just removing all of the unnecessary obstacles in the way. Because I don't think you can force it. And, we've launched so many different products, and it feels like we're forcing them. And, we've had the conversation of like, let's get together, man. And if we can't bang it out this week, it's over. It's not supposed to happen.
Now we have something we can look at.
Yep.
The bottle, the artwork.
Yep.
So where does, in the entrepreneurial field, where do you move from there? So if you already made the recipe.
Yeah. So
what came first, the look or the recipe?
So the recipe came first this time. And then that really dictated the packaging, right? We're like, okay, recipe's awesome, tastes amazing, doesn't exist. Now, how can we create the packaging and the name and the visuals to live into the awesome flavor? And so we married those together beautifully. Now the next phase is kind of the repetition of marketing communications, of letting people know that it exists and why it's special and all that good stuff.
So in the marketing communications right now, where do you believe we are developing? Because really, you just be letting me type shit. It's until you tell me like, hey Mo, we can hear you.
You're right. Well, I let you flow. because I want to see what happens. But I think the marketing stuff, we have an awesome campaign coming up, which is us sitting with a lawyer and them telling us everything we can't say legally and us just asking why. Because for me as a consumer, and this is true with anybody that's getting into a new space, what do you mean I can't tell people what's in this shit? Well, alcohol laws are this and the alcohol laws are that, and you can't say this and you can't say that. Why? But that's what's in it. That's what it is. Well, you can't do it. Why? And again, I think it's really interesting because we've never been in the alcohol space and now we're in it, and there's all these weird things of, you can't say this and you can't do that and you can't promote this and you can promote that. And, that's not true really with any other product on the planet for the most part. So bringing this ignorance that we have to the marketing side, I think is going to be really great for the consumer because we just think like a normal consumer. And it's funny to have lawyers involved because at every stage, like, well, you can't use the word drank because that's a slang in the hood for a drug-infused, self-made heroin drink or whatever the hell that lawyer said to us. And you're like, that's a comedic skit by Dave Chappelle on juice. What the fuck is juice? I know drank, purple drank. But again, it's like, it's funny to be a part of because it's so crazy.
And it's hot. And you know what? I believe not knowing stuff is also like an edge up because I believe somebody used that in film. Like, once you start to get at a certain stage, you kind of know, like, okay, I need to have this stand to put this light on. But, a beginner, like, why can't I sit the light on the table?
100%. Well, it's like, that's how we started the salad dressing business.
Sit the light on the table.
Right. Why?
It's doing the same thing. You just don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I believe coming in with a little bit of, I wouldn't say ignorance, but just not knowing.
Yeah.
It's also
a beginner's mind.
Right, yeah, because then you might invent something new, not even knowing.
Well, it's like we invented clean manufacturing for salad dressing. We talked to the head of the process authority and they're like, yeah, you can't use fresh garlic. What the hell are you talking about? Well, there was a botulism scare in 1978, and so you can't use fresh garlic anymore. I'm like, all of Europe uses fresh garlic every single day and no one's dead. What are you talking about? And so we figured out a way to use fresh garlic and no one had ever done that because we just were stubborn and we just go, well, why? That doesn't make any sense. And so the same is true, not so much for the alcohol recipe, but we are taking it to the packaging and the marketing and everything else because we don't know. Like, well, what do you mean I can't do that? That doesn't make any sense. So I think that that's really important, which is just generally being stubborn and making people prove to you why you can't do it.
So now we got the recipe, we got the packaging. We have we're starting to develop a marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And I guess verbiage and things that we would like to use. Now, how much of the relationships that you've built from the past, like just being an entrepreneur, meeting people through doing the salad dressing and just people who you may went to school with or people who play who have daughters and play on your daughter's lacrosse team, how much of those relationships helped, or how important are those relationships? They may have helped, they may have not have helped along this journey.
Yeah, we definitely use every relationship we can imaginable. But that also limits you a little bit. Like, you still need to have that good old fashioned capacity to cold call. You need to be able to pick up the phone and kick doors down. Because I think you got to be careful that the people that you're talking to aren't persuading you not to do it because of their history in that space. Like, if somebody calls me and asks about salad dressing, I have a very long history in that world. And I start that conversation off. I go, don't listen to anything I'm about to say. Because the only reason I was successful the first time is because I did it because I wanted to do it. Everybody told me not to do it. So I don't want to persuade you to not do it. But here's all the shit. Like, if my son or daughter were about to launch a salad dressing business, this is how I would do it today versus how I actually did it. And so I do want to give that context anytime someone's launching something. Like, I don't want to persuade them to not do it. But at the end of the day, this shit is hard. It's fucking hard. And it's expensive. And it may not work. And some people are cut out for this level of risk tolerance, and other people are not. And everybody thinks entrepreneurship is so sexy because you work for yourself and it's not a 9-to-5. And if it works, you become rich. No one talks about when it doesn't work and what happens. And you lose everything. And you can't pay your mortgage. And your car gets repossessed. And you're looking at your beautiful children and trying to figure out how you're going to tell them that we don't have any money for your birthday. No one talks about that. They're like, well, I'm going to leave my corporate job and I'm going to do this because it's my dream. Okay, that's cool. Follow your dream. But be prepared. You know, I recommend every single person reading The Alchemist because he chased his dream. And it did not, spoiler alert, he sold everything he had. He went to go to the pyramids. He gets robbed off top, loses everything, gets a job at a freaking crystal shop. For years, he's working there saving up money, gets really content. Dream keeps happening. He goes out. He's getting robbed. He's getting the shit kicked out of him. He finally gets to the fucking pyramids. He starts digging. A group of bandits come, beat the fuck out of him, almost to the point of death. And the guy goes, I had a stupid dream like that one time. But my dream was that the treasure was at an abandoned church, buried at the base of a tree where he had been sleeping. Santiago had been sleeping prior to the journey. So he had to go through actual hell to the point of death to figure out the treasure was where he was sleeping in comfort every single day of his life. Now, that is a fucking journey.
Full circle.
Full circle. He went.
Always told me about that full circle.
Well, and he went back a different man. And the point of all of that is wisdom is not free. You have to go earn it.
Only the wise get graves, is what my Uncle Tyrone used to say.
You should see my beard. Shit is fully gray. And, you hear all of the cheesy one-liners of, it's about the journey, man. And It's not the destination. Well, when you finally go on your own journey and you finally get to a destination and it may not be the destination, you do realize it is only the journey. And the journey is the reward because you're going through what Joseph Campbell calls the hero's journey. And you're becoming a better version, hopefully, of yourself each time you go through that cycle. And it's an upward spiral. And each time you need to evolve, you have to fully go through the hardest thing you've ever done, ever. And it's all some version of a weird test. Who's giving you the test? I don't know. How do you pass? I don't really know. They say you're going to keep being presented with the same, question until you pass it, and that's how you move on. Who knows?
Just get deep.
I know. And
We just talk about vodka. You just went deep.
I'm deep. But it is one of these things where you approach the world totally differently than when I originally started. Like, I thought launching a product, building a company, building a brand, like that was success. That's not. That has nothing to do with actual success. Nothing.
Right.
That helped me find perspective in the most aggressive way imaginable.
That's crazy you say that. I just found a letter. I was cleaning out my garage this weekend.
Okay.
Just and I found the letter that I wrote to myself
Yes.
in 2012.
Oh, shit. Let's go,
It
baby.
says, "Dear Future Mo, the time is now 10:50 p.m., April 30th, 2012.
Oh, shit.
So how does it feel to be rich?" I laughed when I read that part too. I said, "Does it feel how you thought? Are you buying a lot of neat things? I know you got that white Range Rover you wanted. How's April doing? Are you a dad yet? Did you get any new god kids? How's Grandma? Matter of fact, I'm going to go out with Grandma soon. Probably to the movies. You know how we roll. Man, how many trucks was Whitey had or Whitey owned? You know me and him hit the road in the truck. I probably shoot a documentary on him or something." But I thought that was funny. I sent this to a group of my friends, and I said, "You think I should write him back?" And they said, "Yeah." So I plan on writing it back from now, and just let them know. But when I read that, especially when I read, "Are you rich yet?" I'm like, "No, I'm not that rich, but I'm richer than you are."
Well,
More money than you.
well, and I bet if you told that version of yourself what your life looks like now,
I got a kid.
he'd be like, "You are rich as fuck."
Yep.
Compared to where you were. And the same is true with me. And it's like, do I have the money that I thought I was gonna have? There were moments that I did. And then there's moments where I lost it all. And again, it goes back to my favorite poem by Rudyard Kipling, If. And that sums up what life is about. And it's the ability to maintain who you are through the chaos and not let it completely beat you down and turn you into something that you never wanted to be. And again, the four things money can't buy: your time, your soul, your health, and your children's love. And somebody asked me the other day, they were like, would you sacrifice any of those for all the money in the world? And the answer is no. You know, I do feel like a part of me is like Santiago. I'm like on the way back to the abandoned church to dig up the treasure beneath the tree. Like, I've been in the desert almost dead by bandits just to figure out that the treasure was always where I was sleeping.
Where were you at? Yeah.
And
that's a deep thought, because sometimes you get lost. Just the other day, I was like, I really wanted to, you know, make movies big time, and now I'm like, everything just on Netflix and on Amazon. Yeah, I'm like, not a lot of stuff going to theaters. I'm like, guess I'm gonna just work and create stuff. I guess all it is just for me, just creating art.
Yeah,
just doing artwork.
Yeah, we're gonna start an art gallery. We're gonna be the first joint artist ever. I'm gonna do the portraits, and then you're gonna come in and graffiti-fy them.
Yes. And then I'm gonna just do cartoons on the wall.
Right. But yeah, to sum all of this up in terms of launching businesses, launching products, going on the journey to become the best version of yourself, you have to work backwards from wow. You have to work backwards from it being magnificent and it working and being prepared for it not to work. Because I think that's the one thing that I'm unfortunately good at. I'm prepared for anything to happen. I don't want bad things to happen, but I'm not tied into any social circles where I have to be something to someone. Like, I'm on my own journey, and whatever happens is going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, it's not going to happen.
And you talk about like trying to look good for other people, like,
yeah, or not look stupid. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Again, the only shit I care about, the 4 things money can't buy.
Right. And on the other side is rather be in the game than in the stands.
Man in the arena, Teddy Roosevelt. Right? I mean, my perspective of business and what I'm capable of and how far I can get pushed, it's probably more than 99.99% of human beings. And I don't know if I'm proud of that. You know? Right? But at the end of the day, I know what I'm capable of. Thanks for tuning in. This was Greg Vetter's podcast on launching your idea, making it work, figuring out the journey and everything in between.